very good morning to all of you. Today we shall discuss a very interesting short story, The Three Dancing Goats, which is anonymous because it is a folk tale. And before we proceed to discuss the story, I shall briefly give an introduction, or I shall briefly discuss with you what is folk literature or what is folk tale. Folk literature, also called folklore or oral tradition, has its roots in the traditional knowledge and beliefs of cultures having no written language. Folk literature includes all the myths, legends, epical stories, fables and folklores or folk tales transmitted by word of mouth through generations. The authors of folk literature are usually unknown or unidentifiable. The oral narrators of folk tales have been gifted with memory toward listening and producing folk literature in the form of myths, tales or songs. Such stories survive because they are entertaining. They embody the culture's belief systems and they contain fundamental human truths based on experience by which people have lived for centuries. Folk literature helps people to develop a sense of morality and identify the distinction between good and evil and embrace the good. By way of skillful transmission of oral stories from person to person, it influences as well as reinforces cultural values and highlights important socio-cultural traditions. Folk literature has affected and influenced the later written word and literary writings profoundly. Folk literature in its literary form has often lived side by side with telling and retelling of oral stories. Many of the proverbs, particularly frequent in all literature, are certainly of folk origin. Now, we move on to have a look at the characteristics of folk literature. Folk tales are generally tales that have been told orally over time. They are stories passed down through generations of people, as I already pointed out. They typically have a moral lesson and reflect the values of culture from which they come, the culture from which they come. The most obvious characteristic of folk literature is its orality, and the continued existence of oral literature depends upon memory. It records the beliefs of people as they appear in popular customs, traditions, magic, proverbs, games, songs, riddles and rituals, etc. It is concerned only with the speaking and with the listening, thus depending upon for its existence on a living culture of human memory to carry on the tradition for generations, otherwise completely lost. The story is repeated over time and again as long as it carries universal appeal even through the ages across geographical distances also. As it is passed on from one person to another, it continually changes from forgetting or from conscious additions or substitutions. Every oral performance differs from the other because it depends on remembering and repeating and hence remains fluid until recorded in writing. The central figure in Indian folk tales is a hero or a heroine who is usually poor and destitute at the start, but who, after a series of trials and adventures in which sometimes supernatural element also plays a conspicuous part, attains his or her goal, that is marriage to a prince or princess, and lives happily ever after. There are certain techniques also which are employed in a folk tale, and these are the basic techniques of a folk tale, which I am going to discuss with you now. Since all folk literature is oral in its essence and subject to human mind and memory for its survival, it is full of devices that are commonly assisted by repetition, because repetition helps to remember the tale or the story. In folk tales, it is common to hear the same episode or incident repeated with little or no change. Folk literature of all types is characterized by formulaic expressions, like at the beginning of a folk tale we come across an expression like once upon a time. The expression, and at the ending of it again an expression like married and lived happily ever after. The formula is characterized not in words only but at the level of structure also. The storyteller has at his or her disposal a large variety of motifs and patterns which occur over recurrent spaces of time and space in the structure or the narrative of the tale. The three conventional motifs are the quest, the watch, and the wooing. Though much of the narrative of folk literature is fictional, the storyteller gives the story credibility through realistic details, allowing readers to stretch their imagination to embrace the larger world reality. The narrative in itself is simple and lucid. Now, we move on to the folk tale which is prescribed for you, the three dancing goats. Folk tales are usually based on a region's established customs and traditions, and most of the time their writer is unknown. Folk tales are usually supposed to be surrounded around a poor main character, a poor central character, and some magical or supernatural phenomena which brings fortune to the central character in the story, or the central character's life in the story. The Three Dancing Goats is also a typical Indian folk tale in theme, characterization, motive, atmosphere, and technique, which has, in the tradition of other folk tales, an anonymous writer, and it narrates how a magical flute and the three goats that dance to the tune of the flute's music brings desired comfort and fortune to the poor, hard-working hero and his mother, who succeeds in winning the heart of a pretty and rich girl and finally marrying her only, owing partly to the magic of the flute and a stroke of luck, but mainly on account of his goodness of heart, faith, patience, and ingenuity. The story, though, lacks two important ingredients of a folk tale, that is talking animals and witchcraft. These are not there in this story. The story opens with Baba Chinko. Baba Chinko is the narrator of this story. Baba Chinko, who is narrating the tale to a group of children. It is a story of a young, poor, hard-working peasant whose name is Sindhu and who lived in a village with his mother in a little bamboo hut on a small grazing land, and their entire wealth consisted of two cows, a couple of cows, two cows whom they deeply loved and took care of. Now, the bargain motive starts in the story, which is repeated time and again in the course of the narrative of this story. First of all, Sindhu bargains to exchange the cows for the three dancing goats. Now, why he is forced to settle on this bargain or exchange, let us discuss. Unfortunately, due to the drought situation, the economic condition of Sindhu and his mother worsened, which is quite a common phenomena in the Indian context, where the agriculture community largely depends upon regular monsoons for their livelihood. They were left, Sindhu and his mother were left with nothing to eat, and feeding their cows was also a big challenge for them. Consequently, Sindhu's mother, with her eyes full of tears, no, she was not happy, with her eyes full of tears, asked him to go and sell their cows to a market at a fair price. Sindhu, with a heavy heart, decided to sell the cows to a caring person instead of to a butcher. On his way, Sindhu met an old lady who had 3 goats, and after listening to his tale of trouble and distress, the lady extended Sindhu an offer for a bargain. That is, she offered her 3 goats in exchange for his 2 cows. She assured Sindhu that she would take good care of his cows, but Sindhu refused, as he thought that it would be equally difficult to feed the goats in drought conditions, and the goats could not bring any earning or income to the family. Then the old lady reassured him, giving him a flute, a magical flute, that one day the goats will bring him a great fortune. The old lady played the flute in front of Sindhu and showed him how the goats danced to the tune of the flute. They were the lovely goats from the Himalayan region, quite different from the ones that are found in the plains, with long hair, long flapping ears and round noses, whom the old woman called Chapu. Sindhu was very much entertained and delighted by the dance of the goats, and finally agreed to exchange his cows in return for the dancing goats and the flute. The old lady left, gently advising Sindhu, be content with what you have got. That is, she gives a great advice to Sindhu that one should be satisfied with what one has in life. As he reached home, Sindhu's mother became unhappy to see what Sindhu had bargained for, thinking that he had been cheated by the wicked market people. But Sindhu still kept his faith intact in the words of the old lady, who told him that the goats would one day bring fortune to him. Now, another bargain. Sindhu bargains an exchange with the landlord's daughter. Sindhu thought that he would be able to earn a few pennies by entertaining the village folk with the 3 dancing goats. He started exhibiting the show of the dancing goats in the village, and soon the 3 dancing goats earned fame. After hearing about the enchanting performance of the 3 dancing goats, the landlord's daughter offered to buy one of the goats from Sindhu. Sindhu agreed to the proposal and put forward the bargain that the landlord's daughter would visit his mother with a barrel of foodstuffs in exchange for the goat, because his goats cannot simply be purchased for money. And he lived for his mother's happiness and comfort. The landlord's eager daughter agreed with the bargain and visited his house with a barrel of foodstuffs. Sindhu and his mother happily welcomed the landlord's daughter. The daughter was delighted to have 1 goat in return, but a few days later she sent forth Sindhu with a message that the goats did not dance without her companions, and therefore she aspired to buy 1 more goat from Sindhu. Now Sindhu, delighted both for his mother as well as for himself, for he was enchanted by the beauty of the girl, paid a visit to the landlord's daughter and agreed to bargain for his 2nd goat on the condition that this time she would give him her gold ring along with a barrel of foodstuffs. The deal did materialize, and a barrel of foodstuffs reached Sindhu's home. The deal between Sindhu and the girl, where the exchange of foodstuffs and goats take place reminds us, the readers, of the barter system that prevailed in ancient times in India, when people used to pay for the things not in monetary terms, but exchange goods for other goods or services or property without making payment in the form of any currency or money. After a few days, the landlord's daughter sent a message through her maid to Sindhu, who told Sindhu that the girl is sad because the goats did not respond to any music and still refused to dance to the tune of any kind of music that was played before them. Sindhu again visited her along with the third goat, and he took out his flute and played the magical tune, listening to which the goats again started dancing. The landlord's daughter became happy to see the goats dance and realized that the goats would dance only in each other's company, and it is the magic of this flute, the magic of the music of this flute only, which made the goats dance together. Because earlier she had called musicians from the temple who had played very good music, and still the goats did not dance. Along with Sindhu's third goat, the daughter also offered now to purchase his flute. Now the time arrived for the third deal between the girl and Sindhu. In exchange for the third goat and the flute, Sindhu asked the landlord's daughter to make her payment in a very different manner. He asked her to tell him the meaning of the 3 different colored stones that were studded in the gold ring which she gave him in return for his second goat. Along with the secret, Sindhu also asked for a barrel of foodstuffs. At first, the girl hesitated a little, but finally she whispered her secrets to Sindhu. She revealed to him that 3 gemstones on the gold ring represent the 3 hair strands which are hidden behind her black silken hair or tresses of hair. One strand is pure white, that is the color of diamond. One is deep red, that is the color of ruby, and the one light green is the color of the emerald. After knowing the secret, Sindhu gave her his flute and the last goat and returned home happily. Sindhu still believed in the words of the old woman that one day the goats would bring him fortune, whereas his mother was anxious, as till now they had only survived on the food barrels which the landlord's daughter had sent them in return for the goats. And now they had no goats, so their livelihood was going to be tough. Meanwhile, Sindhu was happy to work on the landlord's farm as a laborer, as it fetched him double happiness. He could earn his food and at the same time catch a glimpse of this beautiful daughter whom he liked and loved. After a few days, the landowner intended to get married his daughter. He invited all the preferred suitors in the region who wished to marry his daughter and announced that whoever could tell the secret of his daughter would only be able to marry her. Many suitors from all over the country visited the landlord but failed to guess the secret correctly. As Sindhu came to know of this strange offer, he wondered if he should also take this opportunity to marry the girl whom he loved, but he was doubtful whether the landowner would allow his daughter to marry a poor peasant and whether the girl would accept the poor farm laborer as her husband, because it was not a commonly acceptable match. He felt torn and angered at his party, but one day while watching the dance of the 3 goats, he again remembered the words of the old woman and was full of strange hope of success. And finally, he made up his mind to try his luck to marry the landlord's daughter. One day, again, Sindhu met a well-dressed young man who was a possible suitor searching for the direction to the manor house. Manor house is a palatial house which is generally constructed by the landowners or the people in the higher strata of the society. Sindhu agreed to take him to the place and intentionally muttered in front of the suitor that if he would not have been a poor peasant, he could have won the hand of the landlord's daughter, as he knows the secret behind the hair strands. The suitor was surprised and became desperate to know the secret of those 3 strands of hair. He asked Sindhu to tell him the secret, and here Sindhu once again bargained the final deal with him. Sindhu refused to tell him the secret until he is brought in the presence of the daughter of the landlord. The young man suggested that he would get a rich livery for Sindhu and he would enter the manor house as his servant. Sindhu agreed. This was the last bargain in the story, where Sindhu promised to reveal the secret of 3 strange strands of hair to the young suitor who aspired to marry the girl in exchange for a rich attire for himself to enter the landowner's house. Now, Sindhu reveals his true identity or disguise finally. Sindhu entered the manor house disguised as the suitor's servant, wearing beautiful clothes and a silk turban that was given to him by the suitor. In a well-decorated hall, a number of suitors were present trying to guess the riddle of the 3 different colored strands of hair. The daughter and the landlord were also sitting on a raised platform. Nobody was able to recognize Sindhu. Suddenly, Sindhu, in a very deep and dignified and somber voice, declared the secret behind the colors of the hair strands. The first one was pure white, the color of the diamond. The second one, deep red, the color of the ruby. And the third one, bright green, the color of the emerald. The landlord confirmed that his answer was right. It was correct answer. Sindhu at once honestly revealed his disguise, and everyone, including the landlord, was surprised or astonished as to how a poor peasant could know the secret of the 3 colored stones studded in the gold ring of his daughter. The landlord, though distressed to have a peasant as his son-in-law, calmly asked Sindhu to tell everyone how he came to know the secret. Sindhu, after receiving a nod of approval from the girl, narrated the whole tale of their love from the beginning. After listening to Sindhu, the landlord confirmed that the ring belonged to his daughter and that the daughter is one who gave Sindhu the ring and told him the secret. Now she was his wife. All the disappointed suitors called this an error of destiny, a trick of fate, perhaps a curse of God. But Sindhu simply and firmly announced his victory thus. Sindhu said, "This is a triumph of faith, love and patience." Baba Trinko ends the story in a traditional, typical folktale manner with the words, "So the pair married and lived happily ever after," and wishes his audience good night, promising them another story. Now, I would like to discuss with you briefly the bargain or the exchange motive in the tale, which is occurring prominently, or the primary motive in the tale is the bargain motive or exchange motive. The Three Dancing Goats is narrated in a typical folktale tradition where the bargain or the exchange motive recurs or repeated 5 times in the story. 5 times. The central character Sindhu enters into the following 5 deals, which I am going to narrate here to you, to bargain or exchange one thing with the other in the story. The first bargain in the story takes place between Sindhu and the old lady on way to market town when he exchanged his 2 cows for her 3 dancing goats and a flute in a drought situation or a drought condition. Then secondly, Sindhu bargains with the landowner's daughter to exchange one of the dancing goats for a barrel of foodstuffs, along with the girl paying a visit to his mother. Thirdly, Sindhu again bargained with the girl and promised to give him the second goat in exchange for the gold ring that she wears, as well as a barrel of foodstuffs. Next to that, the fourth bargain also takes place between the girl and Sindhu. The fourth bargain of the story and the third bargain between Sindhu and the girl. The fourth bargain also takes place between the girl and Sindhu when the girl revealed the secret meaning of the 3 different colored stones set in the gold ring she gave Sindhu in addition to a barrel of foodstuffs in exchange for his last goat and his magic flute. And finally, Sindhu very astutely, very sharply bargains a rich livery for himself with the young man who was searching his way to the manor house, aspiring to marry the landlord's daughter, promising him to reveal the secret of the 3 strange strands of hair only in the presence of the girl. Now, primary motive is the bargain motive or the exchange motive. The secondary motive in the tale is the meeting motive, because several meetings take place in this story. The meeting motive repeatedly occurs in the story. In the course of the narrative of the 3 dancing goats, the meeting motive is repeated several times. A number of meetings take place between different sets of people in the tale at recurrent intervals. The first meeting takes place between Sindhu and an old lady on way to marketplace who bargains to exchange their cows and goats respectively. Next to that, three consequent meetings take place between Sindhu and the landlord's daughter, who meets to bargain exchanges of Sindhu's 3 dancing goats and the magical flute, one after another, for barrels of foodstuffs, the girl paying a visit to Sindhu's mother, a gold ring studded with 3 different colored stones, and the secret meaning of the colored stones set in the ring. So, these were the 3 meetings between the girl and Sindhu. The 5th meeting, which is also an important meeting of the tale, happens between Sindhu and a handsome but gaily dressed young man on the village high road, who was on his way to the manor house, aspiring to marry the landlord's daughter. And finally, the last meeting of the tale is between Sindhu and the landowner or the landlord, as Sindhu made the splendid guess about the secret of the 3 strands of hair and took off his disguise in the presence of the landlord and other suitors, when the landlord calmly accepted Sindhu as his son-in-law. So, this is the story of the 3 dancing goats, an Indian folk tale, typically repeating the motives of primarily the motive of bargain and secondly the motive of meeting. At the end of our discussion, I would like you to look at a few questions which can be answered in 1 or 2 lines each. And at the beginning of this video, there are slides which will be discussing the entire story, and towards the end of the slideshow, you have 2 slides in which there are 2 assignments given. The first assignment, or assignment 1, will be based on 1 line question answers. You just look at those questions, go back to the story and answer those questions. Assignment 2 is about the detailed question answers, where you can answer all the questions in about 250 to 500 words each, and there are 4 questions here in this assignment. So read the story carefully, read all the slides carefully, listen to this discussion, and then do these question answers. Thank you very much.